everybody, welcome to our weekly video and Chodesh Tov. We're wishing you a good new month. Today we start the new month of Adar. Adar Rishon, the first of Adar, because this year is a leap year, we add a month to bring us more in line with the Gregorian calendar, so Passover occurs in the spring, not at the end of winter. The Talmud tells us when Adar enters, we are supposed to increase in happiness, increase in joy. Today is the day. And this year we have 60 days, 2 months of Adar, 2 months to increase in joy. And on Sunday is the Super Bowl. I promise you, I am not watching the Super Bowl. I really am not a football person. I grew up in the UK. I don't even understand the game. But everybody else is. And the question everyone wants to know is, who's going to win the Super Bowl? I can tell you there's a very simple answer to this question. The simple answer might be that the team that is more besimcha is more likely to win. The Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, explains in Tanya that simcha is central to Judaism, and he gives a very simple reason. He says, imagine two people in a struggle, a physical struggle, they're wrestling, they're fighting, and one is very sluggish and down and depressed. There's no way you can win that battle. The one that is besimcha is more likely to win. They're more energized. And so he explains that in life, as we go through life and we struggle with our spirituality and we struggle with this and we struggle with that, the key is simcha. If you can have simcha, you can get over any obstacle, any situation, we'll make it through. The question is, how do we become in a state of simcha? How do we increase joy and happiness into our lives? Do we just sing and dance? What's the solution? This is a famous question, and there are many answers to this question. And this week we'll focus on one, and hopefully in future weeks we'll focus on others. There's a key point, which is alluded to in the word besimcha. The Zohar tells us, the Kabbalah says, that besimcha is the same letters as machshava. Machshava means thoughts. Aha. Whereas another scholar once told me, he says, simcha is the same letters as sham moyach, where your mind is. It's all in the head. You know, the Torah tells us to love God. How do you love God? It's a feeling. Oh, you've got to contemplate. You've got to meditate. How do you have reverence and respect and fear of God? Also requires a mental exercise and meditation. Contemplation of certain ideas that bring you to a certain feeling. And I would say that simcha is the same thing. You know, simcha is not happiness. Happiness is from the word hap. Happenstance. You happen to have something, oh, I'm so happy. That's not simcha. Simcha is a state of mind. We need to work in a mental exercise to develop a state of simcha. I think that there's a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy that now supports this idea, but the Alter Rebbe wrote this way before cognitive behavioral therapy. And he explains, so we're going to explain a few meditations that will focus on simcha. We'll start with one today. The Alter Rebbe says that one of the ways that we focus on becoming besimcha is to try to think about who we are. Who am I? Think of how fortunate we are. In particular, as a Jew. We say in the morning prayers, in the pre-prayers section, it says, Ashreinu matoiv chalkeinu. How fortunate is our lot. Umanoim goyraleinu. How pleasant is our portion. How beautiful is our inheritance. Think about the fact God chose us from all the nations, as the blessing on the Torah is. That we were given the opportunity to do mitzvahs. We were given the Torah, this long history, this vision of the future. That's me. And I have that opportunity. I have that tremendous part of this wonderful people. and this tremendous opportunity to connect with Hashem through my mitzvahs. Wow. How special is that? That I live a life that has given me this tremendous gift of being a Jew. This kind of meditation, this kind of contemplation will lead us to a tremendous amount of simcha. I want to share a little story about the power of simcha. As you know, a Hasidic story really is a way to explain something. This is a story that takes place probably 200 years ago, maybe 100 and something years ago. I don't know exactly. There was once a fellow, he was a chassid, and unfortunately one of his children were very, very sick. Terrible, terrible illness. The doctors said there's nothing we can do. There's absolutely no hope. And so he ran to his Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Doiv Ber, and he got an audience with the Rebbe, and he said, Rebbe, please give me a blessing, some divine intervention to save my child. I'm so sad, I'm so broken, this is a terrible, terrible situation. And the Rebbe looked at him and said, I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do. I suggest you go home immediately and be there for your family, be there for your children for their last days. So he left the office of the Rebbe, and he was so disturbed and so shaken to the core, he just plopped himself down on a chair. He couldn't move, paralyzed. Now, typically, those that went to see the Rebbe would get a blessing, and then immediately afterward, they were so happy, so joyous from the experience, they would leave the Rebbe's room and dance around. And so in the room where this chassid was sitting, so depressed and so forlorn, were other chassidim dancing around in a circle. And one fellow sees him sitting there, and he didn't know all the details, and so he grabbed him by the shoulder and pulled him into the circle. And begrudgingly he got no choice, he starts moving around the circle, around and around. And little by little, he starts forgetting about everything that's going on at home. And he starts getting into it, and he's dancing with joy and such happiness. He's just completely in another world. And as he's doing this, the door opens and the Rebbe comes out. Rabbi Shalom Doiv Ber, and says, come back in my office quickly. So he came back in the office. He says, yes, Rebbe, I'm sorry. I didn't go right home. I apologize. I got caught in this circle. I didn't mean to. So the Rebbe said, when you came in here, you were very sad and very depressed, and rightfully so. And there was nothing I could do. But your simcha, the joy that you expressed, has broken through those boundaries. And I am confident that your son will receive a refuah shalema, a complete recovery. And indeed, he went home and his son recovered. The power of simcha to completely transform ourselves, in the words of our sages, it breaks through boundaries, personal, cosmic. It allows us to reach a new state. That's the power of simcha. This is the month of Adar that we just entered. And we are instructed to increase in simcha, which means to contemplate ideas that bring us to simcha. Next week we'll focus on another one. Today we focused on Ashreinu, how fortunate we are to be part of the Jewish people, that God has given us mitzvahs, has given us a legacy, has given us a future, has given us richness that is so wonderful and a cause of joy. Good Shabbos.